Our final panel is Radwan Ziadeh, who's from the Center for Study of Islam and Democracy, and Louay M. Safi, Common World Fellow at Prince Al-Walid bin Talal Center for Muslim Christian Understanding at Georgetown University. And just for the record, I'm assuming I mispronounced everybody's names. If you could just state your name for the record so that it's clear. So I don't want to misrepresent. Did I do okay, or am I close?
I mean, you did well on my name. My name is Louay M. Safi.
Good. Well, I get something right today, you know. Yeah. Okay. Well, Mrs. Ziadeh, why don't we begin with you, and we welcome you both here, and please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Is your microphone on? Just the little green light has to come on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak on behalf of, as a Syrian citizen before that, and a director of Damascus Center for Human Rights Studies, to speak and to share with you what ongoing human rights violation in Syria. As my colleagues before actually pointed out, the ongoing situation in Syria, and when only focus about the torture has been used in Syria as a tool to suppress the uprising in Syria and to terrorize the Syrian people. Let me begin with that. The UN Committee Against Torture in May 2010, after the first review on Syrian government, has concluded that there are numerous and ongoing consistent allegations concerning the routine use of torture by law enforcement and investigative officials, in particular in detention facilities. And this is it was in May 2010, and this is that was before the Syrian uprising started. And as the committee mentioned, that this is the daily life of the Syrians, being when the Syrians rose up against the Assad regime to stop these practices, the Assad regime respond with policies beyond our imagination, especially in the methods of the torture has been used against the peaceful protest. The case of Al-Hamza Al-Khatib, the 13 years old, is only one case. But there is other cases like his friend Tamer Al-Shari, 15 years old. But here, I want to share with you the case of Dr. Sakhr Hallaq. He's a prominent physician in Aleppo. He was here in Pennsylvania to attend a medical conference. And when he back to Syria after he been arrested by the Syrian security police al-Mukhabarat in Wednesday, May 25th. On his way back from his clinic to his home, they arrest him at night at 11:30, according, of course, to his brother who is here in Pennsylvania. On Thursday, next day, his wife called a person she knew. He is a member in the Syrian parliament, and he assured her that he is a secret police in Aleppo, and he ensured that he will be released soon. And Dr. Hallaq himself called from the office of the branch of the security service to one of his friends, and he said to him that he's a secret police detention and he will be released after a couple of days. Next day, on Friday, the secret police interviewed Dr. Hallaq's wife and daughter, and they told them that everything will okay and he will be released on Saturday, next day. On Saturday, his wife called again, and she was told that he will be on his way home, but he had stopped at the courthouse to sign some documents. Suddenly, on Saturday, his body was found, freshly dead, on Friday at 6 p.m. in village 20 miles south of Aleppo. It was dumped in a ditch in an area that was very hard to find. On Saturday evening, the corner office of the family told the family that to check if this body belonged to Mr. Hallaq. Indeed, the body was of Dr. Sakhar Hallaq himself. There was evidence of multiple injuries consistent with torture and direct trauma to the head. His eyes and his penis were mutilated. All the bones in his body were broken, and marks from 4 different types of bullets were imprinted in his body. He died by strangulations. They wrote mark in his finger, suggesting that he was trying to salute the rope of his neck. Next day, the Syrian secret police told the family that they never had Dr. Hallaq in his custody, but that instead they found him dead on the street. The Syrian secret police denied that they never arrested Dr. Hallaq, and they said that they found him on the corner, and they enforced the family, the wife and the daughter, to sign some documents to say that he's been killed by armed gangs. And this is the story of Dr. Hallaq. It's been the story, and to be assured that Dr. Hallaq has never participated in any demonstrations against the government, has never been famous as a politician. And this is became, the torture has been used against the ordinary people in a way to terrorize the people, not to participate, and to discourage the undecided people not to participate in anti-government demonstrations. And this is why the message that the government has want to send to the Syrian people. And this is why, not to be long, just to come out, to go directly to the recommendations, I think that it's important for the United States to take on this. First, that I think it's important for the President Obama to make a live and television statements calling Bashar al-Assad to step down immediately. Secretary Clinton said yesterday that Bashar al-Assad lost his legitimacy, and we appreciate these statements. But I think that the statements coming by the administration, it should be focused more that Bashar al-Assad he lost his legitimacy as a president of Syria, and he should step down immediately. President Obama, he was made statements pushing for immediate transition in Egypt, and in 7 public remarks on speeches on Libya. But in Syria, the rhetoric was actually a little bit slowly. And this is why we need President Obama to make a speech on that, to encourage more leaders and the international community to have the same position. Secondly, that the United States should take the leadership at the UN Security Council. Until now, the United States leave the negotiations for the Europeans, and they leading from behind. And this is, until now, it has been 14 weeks of ongoing protest, and the Security Council failed to have only resolution of condemnation. After 11 days on Libya, the Security Council come up with the resolution 1970 with condemnation of the al-Qaddafi government, and put sanctions on al-Qaddafi and other Qaddafi officials, and later on give the refer to the International Criminal Court. In Syria, until now, the Security Council failed to have resolution. And this is why one of the issues that the United States should take the leadership at the Security Council, not leading from behind, but leading from the front. And thirdly, the United States should continue to pressure Syria at the UN Human Rights Council. With the efforts of the US administration, succeed to have the resolution on April 29th in Geneva, which actually dispatched a fact-finding mission in Syria to investigate all the human rights abuses in Syria. Until now, the Syrian government refused to give the mission the access to enter the Syria. But I think the United States should continue to engage with the UN Human Rights Council to appoint special rapporteur on Syria to follow the situation in human rights case very closely. And also should the United States to work with other nations at the Security Council to refer Assad to the International Criminal Court. Currently, Russia, China, Brazil, South Africa, and India oppose a strong UN Security Council resolution, but a demanding report from the UN Human Rights Council may help convince them otherwise. The United States has announced that it will oppose Syria succeed to ban Syria to succeed in candidacy to have a seat at the UN Human Rights Council. And thirdly, the U.S. ambassador should engage with the civil society in Syria. His last visit to Hama, it was incredible, and he's been received by flowers and by talking everyone for the Syrian on the ground. I see that's how much, especially in Hama, with all the history of Hama, how much this visit appreciated by the Syrian people. Even that the Syrian regime used this visit as a pretext and to see that the U.S. is leading the protest, but it hasn't any impact on the ground, and especially the people in Hama has been received that this visit with significant change in the U.S. position. The last, working with Turkey to arrange for a transfer of power in Syria. In recent years, Turkey and Syria have grown increasingly close. Since the protests broke out, the Turkish government has sent officials to Damascus twice to encourage the Syrian regime to reform with no results. While Turkey has a strong relationship with Assad, the Syrian army has cooperation and made cooperation operations with the Turkish army. It's also deeply concerned with the stability on its borders. Last week, the last month, more than 15,000 Syrian refugees crossed the border into Turkey. There is no visa requirement between the two countries, and this is why it's important to engage with the Turkey regarding the situation in Syria, with some concern in some refugees camp about the situations became the treatment there, it wasn't very good. This is why it's important to engage with the Turkish government to have good treatments and to allow for the international organization to have access to the camps to help the Syrian refugees there. And thank you very much.
Zafi?